It's the last Sunday of April, and we've had some really gorgeous weather down here in the south of England. And it really feels like new beginnings, everything bursting into flower and leaf. The number of trees that have suddenly uh, produced their leaves in the last few days, it's sort of gone from 0 to 100% almost. And yeah, I'm very much feeling that new beginnings. Do you ever do a sort of sudden flip? Um, Even if you weren't sure what direction you were going in, you're just sort of meandering along, you suddenly sort of go, "Oh, I'm going that way." Um, I seem to be doing that at the moment. Probably not unusual for me, really. So what I was doing was still rethinking what I planned to do, where I wanted to be. So I thought I would have a proper sort of analytical look at all my reasoning that had gone into why I was planning on moving to Portugal, and then deciding that that wasn't probably what I wanted to do. So I sat down and wrote down all the reasons and realized that I'd written down 10 things. So I sort of just thought I'd do like, a sort of 10-point path to or whatever. I haven't quite worked out how to express it yet. And then I thought, well, actually, I'll go back to New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, when I decided that for this year, I was going to start keeping a journal. Um, well, I think most of us know how that goes. So anyway, I thought what I would do is sort of read what I'd written, and I'll go back to that 31st of December, 1st of January. I think it was something like 3 a.m. on the 1st of January when I had actually started doing this. So I want to try and find somewhere to sit, which is quite tricky because today is incredibly busy up here, as you can imagine. Car park full, overflow car park full. I keep trying to find bits where nobody will appear for about 2 minutes, and then. So yeah, let's see if I can find somewhere to perch myself. Okay, here's a little spot with some bluebells behind me, so that will do for perch number one. And it was indeed 3 a.m. when I was writing this. Heavens knows what I was thinking. And here were my thoughts at that point. 1 year on from today, will I be sitting here, as in not here, but in my living room? And if I am, will I be content? Or will I be frustrated or disappointed? This time last year, I was feeling excited that I was on my way to my dream, a house and land in Portugal. But then when it came to the point of making it real, I chickened out. I think I'm being a bit hard on myself there. There were things, as one of my earlier videos it discusses. Anyway, and what was that about? Is it really that I do want to be around to see my younger grandchildren, the babies, become real people? Was T, I'm not going to use people's names because, other people don't want to be in my videos necessarily. Was it T, and was his illness a factor? And again, I discussed this in an earlier video that I did last summer. Or am I just a wimp? Again, I'm being a bit unkind to myself. Not sure that that is it, because I have headed off on adventures before. Not that that worked out. And then I was thinking about my hire car disasters ×2 in Portugal last February. And added to that, then some catastrophic getting really lost, and lost with a dead phone, so you don't know where the hell you are in a foreign country. That sort of thing actually made me feel very vulnerable, sort of traveling on my own, which is sort of not a feeling that that I'm used to, quite honestly. I tend to sort of, being a Sagittarian, we just sort of, head on off. Yeah, doing this, off we go. But so I wondered what that taught me, because what actually happened with that was that for the first time in my life, you're thinking, I'm in my 70s, for the first time in my life, I had a serious panic attack. And I seriously, genuinely thought that I was having a heart attack. So what did I learn from that? Because it was something really weird that had never happened to me before. From that experience, I feel I learnt not to be so glib, so flippant about seemingly small things that can knock us off kilter. And I have a tendency to do that. And I have to remind myself, it is one of my weaknesses. I'll sort of brush things off and, oh, for heaven's sake, why is so and so being so pathetic about something? Well, I learnt. So yeah, I learnt a lesson from that. So, and then T, I mentioned before, meeting a lovely man who becomes very ill. That also made me think about myself. And I've always been someone who I would never, God, I'd never want a relationship with somebody who needed caring for or whatever. I mean, he doesn't. He's actually made an amazing recovery, came through the most difficult year anybody could envisage. Everything that could go wrong went wrong, but he's doing incredibly well. He's fine. But it did make me think that if our relationship were to develop beyond what it was, that I actually cared about him enough to realize that actually I can be a caring person. So that was interesting. So was it those things, or was it something else completely? So what do I really want for the coming year and for the future? I wish I knew, is what I wrote at that time. I don't think that I want to move entirely to another country. I'd like the ability to go away for that post-Christmas winter months, which are the killers here, really, aren't they? When you're living in the UK and it gets grey and it stays grey. Right, and that's all I was saying. And a house here with a big enough dining room to cater for all my family on those odd occasions. And that was sort of it, really. Okay, so that was my New Year's Day musings. I've just noticed that the bench I was sitting on is to Mum, Gran and Grandnan, this lady called Blanche, who made it to just short of 100. Look at that. I'm seeing that as a sign. Okay, now to what I wrote a few days ago. I've moved and I'm sitting under a lovely old silver birch, which is my favourite tree. Right, so here we go. Let's see if I can sort of hold this and read at the same time. Right, so this was it. Okay, today I have gone right off on a tangent, although it is a route that I have considered a number of times before and decided that it wasn't the way to go. I've been reconsidering a particular way of living or a particular type of living that I don't want to say now because I want to save that for my next video, okay? Or to be accurate, one particular place because it's set in woodlands, not here. And being surrounded by trees, you might have worked this one out, is where I feel at home and it's my place of joy. So I think that I need to go back to all the whys of why I feel that I need to live somewhere other than where I am. And this is what I was saying about this. I realised I'd made 10 points. So here goes. Number one. It started back when I was overwhelmed by a sense of failure, that I do not have a home where my family can gather for meals and celebrations. And that task falls to one of my daughters, which it shouldn't. And I still feel this sort of guilt about that. Some people might say, what the heck are you going on about? Some people will understand. Doesn't matter. It's how I feel. So then second point, I started looking at the possibilities of buying land and perhaps converting a rundown cottage or barn in this country. But with planning regulations, cost of land, that's pretty much impossible to do. I spent quite a long time researching that and it's just not feasible. So then point three, so that was when the idea of Portugal began to form. Cheap land, cheap property, lots of work to do necessarily, but with a house big enough for all the family to gather together and my own land to walk around and to grow food on. Views of mountains, lots of trees, olive trees in particular. Heaven. And I talk about exactly what I thought I wanted then in a video when I was in northern Portugal last winter. I think it was something like, do I know what I really want from Portugal? So next point. Right, okay, just changing hands. My arm was getting a bit tired there. Next point, number 4. But then I started to realise many things. I didn't really want to be so far away from my grandchildren for most of the time. I do love England, especially in the summer, spring like now, and the autumn. It's just those blooming winters that get me down a lot. Well, Portugal certainly does have winters. And it can be incredibly wet. And this last winter has been biblical, I think, in a lot of areas. But I was saying, yes, but yeah, that might be the case, but the winters are shorter. And that's true. And then I realised over the sort of couple of years that I've been really looking at all of this, that property prices were increasing. There were a lot of other people thinking it would be good to move to Portugal as well. And so property prices, even for stuff needing a lot of work, started to go up. Which meant that then your expectations of what you want are lowering and you're beginning to lose track of if what I was looking for was space, beginning to lose track of whether that was realistic and whether what you would end up with is what you wanted. And then the other thing with Portugal, of course, is in the summer, the wildfires. I did a video about that as well, the sort of fear of that, so I won't go into it all again. But it's a pretty serious consideration. Right, so that was number 4. Then number 5, I asked myself, so was I using a sledgehammer to crack a nut? Was basically this sort of wanting space for my family to gather a few times a year, really, was uprooting my whole life? actually the way. I mean, like a lot of people, I'd always had that dream of maybe one day retiring to sort of Spain or Portugal or Cyprus. Yeah, again, somewhere where you have warmer winters. But did I want that enough to uproot everything else? So yeah, was I taking a sledgehammer to crack a nut-sized issue? And then today, for some reason, this was the day I wrote this, a few weeks ago now. Then today, for no reason at all, I thought I would just look on Rightmove to see if there was anything at all that I could buy for my money in the south of England, thinking highly unlikely. And so I included this type of housing that I'm not going to say what it is at the moment. And I found one location that caught my eye because it was in Woodlands and it was in Sussex. And I started thinking, could this be the way of living my dream? Surrounded by trees. I mean, that I've said that for years. Plonk me down in a patch of trees and I'll be happy for life. So these wouldn't all, a few would, but they wouldn't all be on my land. But actually, looking after trees comes with a lot of responsibility and potentially hard work. And I mean, so many homesteaders I follow on YouTube in Portugal, the number of trees that were destroyed in the awful storms they had, as well as property damage to property, but the work on trees that's going to take months and months and months. So if you're a homesteader making ends meet and you can't afford to get probably the few available companies that can come out and do it professionally for you, it's going to take a lot of work. So yeah, a way of having a home surrounded by trees with the ability to walk in woodlands for miles. And a garden, not an acre, but how much land does one person, providing just for themselves, need to grow vegetables and a bit of fruit? It would be lovely to have chickens. I've always wanted chickens providing my eggs, but I can compromise on that. This sort of particular location, there are plenty of farm shops with their own organic produce, so buy your eggs and the vegetables you need from them, and you know, you're helping the local community as well. Now, point 7, I'm talking about a couple of things that had put me off this particular lifestyle. And I don't want to talk about certainly one of them, both of them, because again, that would give away what I'm planning on doing, which I don't want to do yet. So I will leave that. But there were two issues which over the years when I've looked at this option, I've thought, no, they were non-negotiable, they were non-starters. But you know, as with a lot of things in life, you sort of revisit and you take a different perspective with you and come up with different conclusions. So, and as to my original reason, going back to have enough space to squeeze us in all round a table for those festive and celebratory meals, it would allow me to have that. Not necessarily, you know, a big dining room, but what's the point of having that? If you've got enough space that you can have an extendable table that you can then pull out to the size you need it and then tuck it away to a small one, then, you know, just by rejigging sofas and things if you need to, that's absolutely fine. And then the other point was that I can see the grandchildren regularly. And this location has miles and miles of woodland and riverside and downlands and lakeside. It's just beautiful. It's just wonderful up there. Rather than only seeing them once or twice a year, if they can all afford to come out. And that's the other thing, you know, sort of say, oh yeah, the family can come and visit. One of my daughters has got 5 children. so that's 7 airfares. The other one has got 3 children, so that's 5 airfares. School holidays you've got to factor in when everything is more expensive as well. So, realistically, and if I've ploughed all my money into land and property and I've got things to look after, maybe animals to look after, I'm not able to pop back every 6 weeks or whatever to see them. So the reality, that's the reality. I think I might have to move for my last couple of points because a family have appeared to camp just sort of 10 feet away from me, which of course they're free to do, but I prefer to talk when there's nobody around. See you back in a minute. Right, moved again, and it's getting a little chillier, reminding us that it is only April still. Right, let's finish this up. Now, I've actually completely lost track of how many points I've got here. It's 10-ish. It'll do, 10. Okay, so next one was hopefully if I do go down this route, which will be meaning buying a cheaper property, releasing equity, and hopefully I can live carefully enough to afford a winter break to escape those winter months of gloom. Even if it's only for a couple of weeks, it just sort of breaks it up. But then I noted, if I'm living in woodland, I'll be out foraging and growing my skills for creating natural remedies from foraging. And I'll be as happy as Larry. So maybe I won't particularly feel the need to go away. Who knows? And so final step, which might be number 9 or number 10 or 11, little light aircraft going overhead, is to go and visit this place, check out all the ins and outs, get the feel for it, and see if it really is something that I want to do. And I will let you know that perhaps in my next video, unless something else interesting happens in the meantime. But soon. Okay, and bye for now.